Claude Opus 5, DeepSeek V4 Pro, and Qwen 3.8. Max just entered the same price fight. 5 tests settle it with a running scoreboard, and I'm naming exactly who should use which one. The benchmark winner and the value winner turn out to be 2 different models, and the third one just changed the math with a price that wasn't public 2 weeks ago. Test 1, Coding Benchmark Performance. Pick the wrong model here, and you're paying for weaker code on every single run, which adds up fast if you're shipping anything real. The test that matters most for coding right now is SWE Bench Verified. It checks whether a model can actually fix real verified software issues instead of just answering trivia about code. Claude Opus 5 scores 96% on that benchmark, and DeepSeek V4 Pro comes in at just over 80%. That gap is wider than a lot of quick comparisons give it credit for. It's the difference between a model that closes almost every ticket you throw at it and one that still gets stuck on roughly 1 in 5. Qwen 3.8 Max doesn't have a published score on this exact test, so I'm not going to make one up. Its own headline numbers come from different benchmarks entirely, which means it simply can't be scored here yet. If your job is fixing production code all day, a gap like that is worth caring about. Claude Opus 5 wins this round, which puts the scoreboard at Claude Opus 5-1, DeepSeek V4 Pro 0, Qwen 3.8 Max 0. My name is Brian and I review AI software, so you don't have to. That coding gap looks decisive on its own, but so far it's only round 1, and price is about to complicate this scoreboard fast. Test 2, Cost per token. So this is where a lot of people get burned. They pick based on quality alone, and then get shocked by the bill once they're running these models at real volume every day. DeepSeek V4 Pro charges $0.435 per million input tokens and $0.87 per million output tokens. Qwen 3.8 Max landed right in the middle when it launched its own pricing, at $2 per million input and $6 per million output. Claude Opus 5 sits at the top, charging $5 per million input and $25 per million output. Do the math on output tokens alone, and DeepSeek V4 Pro comes out roughly 28 times cheaper than Claude Opus 5. Qwen is nowhere near that cheap, but it's still several times less expensive than Claude. If you've used any of these 3 for a real project, drop a comment with which one actually held up once the usage bill showed up. One of the biggest problems I run into when using AI agents is turning their output into YouTube content I can actually use to market my product. That's why this video is sponsored by Subscriber, a tool that helps business owners connect their AI agents to YouTube and market their products without spending 10 hours every week creating content. You can connect Claude or ChatGPT directly to Subscriber. It then analyzes your business, website, and YouTube channel to help you create SEO-optimized video ideas, scripts, thumbnails, and even complete videos that actually match your brand. What I like most is that every week, Subscriber gives me a list of high-potential video ideas I can immediately execute, and it can even help edit videos for me, with or without my face, including videos like the one you're watching right now. It's easy to get started, and you can try Subscriber for free using the link in the description below. Now back to the video. DeepSeek V4 Pro takes this round clean, and Qwen 3.8 Max finally gets on the board for landing in the middle instead of nowhere. That puts DeepSeek V4 Pro at 1, Claude Opus 5 at 1, and Qwen 3.8 Max at 0. A cheap sticker price doesn't automatically make something the smart pick though, and the next few tests are exactly why. That's the kind of thing benchmarks never catch. Next up, context and output limits. This decides whether a model can actually hold an entire codebase or document in its head, or whether you're stuck chopping your work into pieces just to fit. The real difference shows up in max output. DeepSeek V4 Pro can generate up to 384,000 tokens in a single response. That's 3 times what Claude Opus 5 allows at 128,000. Qwen 3.8 Max hasn't published a comparable output limit, so I'm leaving that one blank instead of guessing. That output gap matters most if you're running long, unattended agent tasks that need to keep generating for a while without stopping. DeepSeek V4 Pro wins this test, which makes it DeepSeek V4 Pro 2, Claude Opus 5-1, Qwen 3.8 Max 0. All 3 models tie here on context window, each holding a full 1 million tokens, so none of them forces you to slice up a big project. None of that means much if the model can't keep up in real time, and that's exactly what the next test checks. Stick with me, because the last 4 tests are where this decision actually flips. Test 4. Speed. A model can be brilliant and still be useless in production if it's too slow to keep your pipeline moving. DeepSeek V4 Pro outputs at 112 tokens per second, which is 44% faster than Claude Opus 5's 78 tokens per second. In practice, that means fewer stalls when you're running batch jobs, or agents that need to work through tasks all day without you babysitting them. That's DeepSeek V4 Pro's 3rd win in a row. It's starting to look like the practical favorite, even with Claude still holding the strongest coding score. 1 test is left, and it's less about who's fastest and more about who you're even allowed to use. The scoreboard now reads DeepSeek V4 Pro 3, Claude Opus 5.1, Qwen 3.8 Max 0. Final test, deployment and modality. This one decides whether you can actually get your hands on the model in the first place, and under what terms. Claude Opus 5 and DeepSeek V4 Pro both take text and image input and return text output. On deployment, Claude Opus 5 runs across 3 managed clouds, while DeepSeek V4 Pro ships its weights openly so you can self-host and keep full control. Qwen 3.8 Max is heading toward that same open approach, with its own weights set to release the week of August 10th. I'm calling this test a 3-way tie, because managed reach and open weights solve different problems for different people, rather than one clearly beating the other. Now it's time to add it all up and actually answer the question in the title. On modality, it's a tie. That means the scoreboard holds where it was. DeepSeek V4 Pro at 3, Claude Opus 5 at 1, and Qwen 3.8 Max at 0, since this last round scored as a tie across all 3. Claude Opus 5 is the benchmark leader here, holding the best coding score of the 3, and it's also the most expensive by a wide margin. DeepSeek V4 Pro comes in cheapest and fastest, and it ships open weights, which is why it walked away with 3 wins on the scoreboard. Qwen 3.8 Max is the newest name in this fight, with real pricing that lands right in the middle. It still has no published score on the one coding benchmark the other 2 share. Now, Claude Opus 5 is the benchmark leader here, holding the best coding score of the 3, and it's also the most expensive by a wide margin. DeepSeek V4 Pro comes in cheapest and fastest, and it ships open weights, which is why it walked away with 3 wins on this scoreboard. Qwen 3.8 Max is the newest name in this fight, with real pricing that lands right in the middle. It still has no published score on the one coding benchmark the other 2 share. Claude Opus 5 is the benchmark leader here, holding the best coding score of the 3, and it's also the most expensive by a wide margin. DeepSeek V4 Pro comes in cheapest and fastest, and it ships open weights, which is why it walked away with 3 wins on this scoreboard. Qwen 3.8 Max is the newest name in this fight, with real pricing that lands right in the middle. It still has no published score on the one coding benchmark the other 2 share. If you need the strongest possible coding performance and the cost doesn't scare you, Claude Opus 5 is your pick, because that 96% score is still the strongest number of the 3. If you're operating at high volume and watching every dollar, DeepSeek V4 Pro is your lane. Its price and speed lead is big enough that the quality gap stops mattering for most workloads. If you want a middle price point and you're willing to bet on a model that's still building its track record, Qwen 3.8 Max is worth watching. If someone handed me 0 context and asked which one to start with, I'd choose DeepSeek V4 Pro. The decisive reason is simple. It's roughly 28 times cheaper on output tokens than Claude Opus 5, yet it's only about 15 points behind on the one benchmark they both share. That gap is too small to justify paying that much more for most people. One thing nobody talks about is that DeepSeek's own pricing page has reportedly signaled a coming price increase, without naming a date or an amount. The price advantage that just won DeepSeek V4 Pro this whole comparison isn't locked in. If you're building a workflow around it, keep an eye on that page before you assume today's rate holds next quarter. If you're trying to figure out where GPT fits into the same price fight, that's the next comparison worth watching. The same cost, speed, and coding questions apply there too, just with a different name in the mix.